All right. So we are reviewing how to analyzing arguments, and this is going to lead into writing an argument. So here we go. First, let's make sure we review some vocabulary terms. These are words that you're going to need to know. So, first of all, in writing, an argument is writing that expresses a position on an issue or a problem. The thing to remember about when you're writing an argument, this is different than having an argument with somebody. When you're writing an argument, you are picking an issue or a problem and you are picking a side. This is one of those things where you don't get to be, well, maybe you're kind of right, I'm kind of right. No. When you write an argument, you pick a side and you stick to that side. That side is right, the other side is not. Okay. A premise is the general principle on which most people can agree. So this is kind of finding that middle ground in an argument. So you want to make sure when you're looking at the two sides of an argument that you're not necessarily going to extremes. You want to kind of stay in the middle ground of an argument, so you have to pick a side, but you need to also defend that argument in a way where most people, not all people, but most people are going to go, yeah, okay, I can see that point. Okay. Then when you make your claim, this is kind of like your topic sentence. Your claim is your main point about the issue, and this is going to need to be arguable. Okay, it can't be something like when that plants need water to grow. You can't. It can't be something that is one way or the other. It has to be arguable. There has to be different sides to the argument. Okay. And then you'll have to have support and evidence. And these are the reasons that can be proved and that aren't going to reveal flaws when someone else goes to analyze them or double check them against reliable sources. So if you're getting your sources from fake news, from opinion pieces, from blogs and things like that, there's a good chance that your evidence and your support is going to be able to be proven wrong. So find evidence and support that when someone else looks up that evidence and support, they're going to go, okay, that's legit. All right. And then an argument has to have an appeal. So there's different kinds of appeals. There's a logical appeal. This is a statement of factual evidence. Okay, this is something that can be proven. Okay, and then there's an emotional appeal. This is a message that is meant to create strong feelings. So a logical appeal, this is fact. I have evidence. It can be proven. Emotional appeal is, okay, I'm going to make you feel in a way that makes you want to support me. Okay. In order to have an emotional appeal, you need to use loaded language. These are specific words that are used to create a strong positive or strong negative feelings. So when you use words like that a person is horrible. When you use that word horrible, it creates a strong feeling. When you describe someone as extremely smart and intellectual, that creates a strong positive feeling. So you're choosing your words to create those feelings. Make sure you remember that when you go for that emotional appeal. All right, so let's see if you are following along. If I say stray dogs do not have owners to make sure they are fed and groomed, is that a logical or an emotional appeal? If you said that's a logical appeal, you are right. This is not using loaded language. This is being very factual. Stray dogs do not have owners. Therefore, there is no one making sure that they are fed and groomed. Whereas, let's say I say a sickening number of stray dogs are put to death in animal pounds each year. Is that a logical or an emotional appeal? That's an emotional appeal. Using words like sickening, that is creating emotion. You're not just saying that dogs are put to death. You're using the word sickening to make people feel strongly that this is a horrible thing happening. Here's another one. We have better things to do than worry about stray dogs. Is that a logical or emotional appeal? If you said that that's an emotional appeal, you are correct. What you're doing here is you're not giving information that is something that can be proven, right? You can't prove that there are better things to worry about because that's an opinion. For some people, stray dogs are the most important thing in their world. And so you're trying to create an emotion here that's opinion. And so that is not logical. Therefore, it is an emotional appeal. All right, let's talk about counter argument. So once you have your claim, and once you've defended your claim, and you have a logical argument for your claim, then you've got to have a counter argument. You have to say what the other side is going to say. So a counter argument is the opposing viewpoint presented so that it can be refuted. Remember, you're not riding the fence here. You're not saying, well, yes, they have a good point too. You are specifically saying, this is what the other side thinks, so that you can then say why they're wrong, which is your rebuttal. Your rebuttal is contradicting the opposite view with evidence. So you present the counter argument, the other side would say this, and then your rebuttal says, here's why they're wrong. And you do that with evidence. Here's an example. Here's the argument. The claim: cloth shopping bags do not harm the environment the way that plastic and paper shopping bags do. Now I have to support that. So I go on and I say cloth bags can be used again and again rather than once before being thrown away. Now I have to give my counter argument. Some think that since paper shopping bags are biodegradable, that they have no environmental impact. Now I'm going to give my rebuttal. These people forget that millions of trees must be destroyed in order to create the bags. You can see here that my claim is that cloth shopping bags are the way to go. I have to support that. Now, the counter argument is that paper bags are biodegradable, therefore they don't impact the environment. Now, that's a good point to make, and it's one that someone could ride the fence on. Well, yeah, paper bags are not that bad. They're not as bad as plastic, right? But my rebuttal goes back and says, yeah, but we're forgetting that we're chopping down trees. This takes, and I can go on and I can give evidence. This is going to take gasoline for the machines that are doing the work. This is going to produce pollution when we do this. I can go on and I can talk about how paper bags might not be as bad as plastic bags, but they are having an impact on the environment as well. This is helping my claim. All right, so let's talk about fallacies, because it's going to be really important that you do not fall into these fallacies as you are creating an argument. Again, this should be a review. We've talked about this already in class. Here we go. Let's talk about circular reasoning. So, circular reasoning is when you support a statement by simply repeating it in different words. So you're saying the same thing, you're just using different words to say it. You have false cause and effect. So when you assume that because one thing happened after another, the first thing caused the second. So we have to be careful not to do that. Don't say, well, this happened first and then this happened. Therefore, the first one caused the second one. We don't ever want to make that mistake. Unless you can prove that the first one caused the second one, just because it happened first does not make it effective reasoning. Also, hasty generalizations. Don't fall into this trap. This is where you draw conclusions from little to no evidence. So when you just say something is because it is, that's not okay. You have the either or fallacy that you want to stay away from also. This is when you are suggesting that there are only two choices, when really there's always more than two choices. And so when you're only saying you have this choice or this choice, you're doing the either or fallacy, and that is not a good argument. Name calling is also something you want to make sure you stay away from. Okay. Discrediting someone's idea by attacking that person or that group, that is not a good way to prove your point. It doesn't do anything other than slander, and we want to stay away from that. Okay. All right. So we're going to stay away from these logical fallacies. They are trickery and they are invalid. Let's see if you can identify these logical fallacies. Here we go. What type of fallacies are the following statements? Here we go. I know all dogs chew on shoes. If you said that's a hasty generalization, you are correct. You can't prove that all dogs chew on shoes. You have no evidence to show that all dogs chew on shoes. Yes, some dogs chew on shoes, but not all dogs, right? That is a hasty generalization. You can't prove that. Here we go. Crime has surged as the number of satellites orbiting the Earth has increased. If you said that's false cause and effect, you are correct. Just because satellites are orbiting the Earth first and crime has gone up since we put satellites out there, does not mean that satellites have increased crime. All right, let's see. Number 3, people who think we should pay fewer taxes are selfish and greedy. That is name calling. As soon as you start calling people selfish and greedy, you're not proving anything. You're just trying to get people angry. And this is a way of doing that. The school parking lot should be expanded. It should be expanded because it needs to be bigger. If you said that this is circular reasoning, you are correct. Saying it needs to be bigger and it should be expanded are saying the same thing. You're just using different words. And our last one, if you don't send white roses, you're just going to have to send red ones. This is the either or fallacy. You have way more choices than white roses and red roses. You can send yellow roses. You can send pink roses. You don't even have to send roses. You could send lilies or carnations. You don't even have to send flowers. You could send chocolate if you wanted to. The either or fallacy is something you want to be very aware of and stay away from. All right, let's talk about analyzing an argument. Here we go. Here's an argument. I've numbered the sentences so we can really analyze this argument. We should replace all traffic lights at intersections with 4-way stop signs. To begin with, stop signs would be better. Signs do not need electricity and would be cheaper to use. Some might believe that this should be dangerous, but they are stupid and should try thinking for a change. So, is this an emotional appeal with loaded language, name calling, and a counter argument? Or is this a claim with false cause and effect, a logical appeal, and a counter argument? Is this a claim with circular reasoning, logical appeal, and a counter argument with fallacy? Or is this a claim with circular reasoning, emotional appeal, and a counter argument? So let's look at these. The sentence number 1, we should replace all traffic lights at intersections with four-way stop signs. Is that an emotional appeal? Is that a claim? Let's look at sentence number 2. To begin with, stop signs would be better. So, is that loaded language, false cause and effect, or circular reasoning? Signs do not need electricity and would be cheaper to use. Is that name calling, logical appeal, or emotional appeal? And finally, sentence number 4. Some might believe that this should be dangerous, but they are stupid and should try thinking for a change. Is that a counter-argument? A counter-argument with fallacy? Or, I guess just a counter-argument again. Which one do you think this is? If you said that it is a claim and then circular reasoning, logical appeal, and counter-argument with a fallacy, you were correct. Sentence 1, we should replace all traffic lights at intersections with four-way stop signs. That is a claim. That is something that needs to be proven, and it needs evidence to prove it. Sentence number 2, to begin with, stop signs would be better. That's circular reasoning. We already said that a four-way stop would be better. We said that in our claim. Sentence number 3, signs do not need electricity and would be cheaper to use. That is a logical appeal. We can prove that. And finally, sentence number 4, some might believe that this is dangerous, but they are stupid and should try thinking for a change. That is a counter-argument with a fallacy. The fallacy is loaded language and name-calling. Is this a good argument? No, this is not a good argument. We do not want to have the circular reasoning in there or the name-calling fallacy. And also, although we have a logical appeal in there, which helps support our claim, we don't give the evidence for that logical appeal. Once we say that signs do not need electricity and would be cheaper to use, we need to support that. We need to explain why that's the better option. How is it cheaper? Right? Okay, so some things to be aware of. Remember, everybody has bias. That is when you have a side that you agree with more than another side. You need to remember that other people believe the other side. We're not trying to make people feel bad. We do need to remember that our bias oftentimes will make us look closed-minded, prejudice, and unfair. Be very careful. Understand what your bias is, and then make sure that you're not falling into those fallacies where your bias is concerned. Avoid picking an argument topic that you have a very large bias on. If you are extremely passionate about something, if you feel like your opinion is right and everybody else is wrong, and you're not even willing to hear their side, you should avoid that argument. You are not going to be able to have a valid argument. Also, do not use evidence from sources that have an obvious bias. If you're looking up information to support your case and you're looking at sources that have a lot of those fallacies in them, it's not a good source. You need to avoid those sources that have that obvious bias. So, what you're going to do is you're going to create an argument. We're just going to we're going to do a pre-write where you have to look at two sides. I'm going to show you how to do that here in just a minute. And then you're going to write a paragraph. We're not doing a whole essay here. We're going to pack all this into one paragraph to start with. We'll be getting to essay later. But for now, let's just practice having a claim, having evidence and support with a logical appeal, giving reasoning that explains how the evidence supports the claim, having a counterargument, and a rebuttal that does not have that can have an emotional appeal, but not a fallacy. It is okay to appeal to emotions, but stay away from those fallacies. And then finally, a conclusion where you refer back to your original claim.